Hey, so I recently attended my parents' vow renewal ceremony after 6 months of no contact, but unfortunately, things didn't go well. I'm 27 right now, and last year I quit my corporate job to become a full-time tattoo artist. I'm trained and everything. I'm a professional. It had been my part-time gig back when I was in college because my parents wouldn't send me a lot of money and I wanted to have my own fun as well. But slowly I realized what a fun job this was. And the people at the studio were nice enough to help me get my license. So instead of just being an assistant, I could actually join in as an artist. Then I graduated. I started working, but honestly, I found my corporate job very soul-sucking. It was just not for me, and I started to get bored. I thought about going back to tattooing, and money was not a concern because while working at the studio, I knew that if I carved a niche for myself, then I would be able to make a ton of money from tattooing as well. Besides, I would be having fun with my life. And I didn't intend on having a family or anything, at least not anytime soon. So after a lot of back and forth with my parents, I decided to finally make the leap last year. And let's just say that my parents were more than unhappy about it. For the past 6 months, they haven't spoken to me after I told them that I was not going back to my old job and that I intended to make it big as a tattoo artist. They were not just unhappy about the fact that I had quit my job without telling them. They were even more unhappy that I had quit my cushy corporate job for something that they thought was unsophisticated and not very respectable as a career. But I didn't care about that. I have been doing well for myself ever since I joined, and working in the studio is fine. I make slightly less money than I did in the past, but that's fine. I'm just starting out here. And I know that with time, it'll get better. Besides, it's not like I'm struggling or anything. For the first time, I feel genuinely happy doing what I do. I'm not exhausted all the time, and I'm not constantly thinking of quitting. So don't you think that my parents should be happy for me? At least that's what I thought. And that's why I decided to pay them a visit and attend their vow renewal ceremony when they sent me an invitation and called me to tell me that they were really sorry and they wanted to make things up to me. So they would like for me to attend the event and be there for them. I thought that they were finally coming around to accepting my decision. So I chose to attend, but once I was there, I figured out that that's not what their intentions were at all. Because once I got there, they were very nice to me. But after the ceremony at the reception, they decided to make a speech thanking me for attending this event, even after everything that had gone down. Pretty much everyone in the family knew that I had not been on speaking terms with my parents for the past half a year because they did not like my choice of career. And everyone was happy that I had chosen to attend. And I thought that that was it, that they were just going to thank me and let it go. But instead, they started to thank me for being kind enough, not only to forgive them, but also to agree to be their retirement plan. And everyone started cheering at that because it was a big deal. My family is a pretty normal one, so for me to be able to support my parents after they retire is a big deal. But the thing is, I never had a discussion like that with them on the phone when they had invited me. We had only spoken about how glad we were that they had made the move to invite me and that I would definitely be attending, and that was it. And that particular day, I had barely had a moment alone with them. And so I literally had no chance to discuss anything with them. And I kept trying to think of a moment where I might have given them a false impression that I was going to agree to be their retirement plan or anything of the sort, and I drew a blank. I couldn't think of a single moment where they might have misunderstood me and come to this conclusion. And that's when it hit me that they had not misunderstood me, but I had misunderstood them for sure. I had come all the way here and forgiven them, attended their ceremony and everything because I thought that they were only trying to get back on good terms with me. But in reality, they were just trying to put me on the spot so I would not be able to say anything, and eventually I would have to agree to be their retirement plan since it would be too late to back out. I was furious because they had been trying to trick me, and that was just not going to fly with me. I could have definitely let it go and discussed things with them in private later. But at that moment, I was too flustered to think about anything else. And I just called them out publicly on this, while everyone was telling me what a great thing I had done and applauding me and congratulating my parents. I decided to snatch the mic from them and speak up. And I told everyone that there had been some sort of misunderstanding and that I had not agreed to anything of this sort. And I also said that in all probability, my parents were just trying to put me on the spot so I would end up agreeing to this. But unfortunately, I didn't care how I'm perceived. But I was not going to be pushed around and manipulated like this. So I spoke up in front of everyone and I told people that I had never promised them anything like this, that I think they were trying to manipulate me and I was not falling for it. I told them I was not going to be anybody's retirement plan, especially when I hadn't even discussed it with them. Having said that, I walked out. I didn't even look back because I was honestly done with my parents. The fact that they had tried to be so slick and sly with the whole thing is what hurt me the most. Because if they had just chosen to be honest and open about it, then I might have even agreed. Of course, it wouldn't have been feasible for me to agree to be their retirement plan as a whole. But I'm assuming that they having some savings from years of working, and I could always help them out a little bit, but instead of just being transparent with me, they decided to spring it on me and try to trick me. That was not going to work, and I made it very clear by walking out. But now they are accusing me of being heartless. They think that I was selfish and didn't think about how the rest of the family would perceive them, and that even if I did not approve of what they were trying to do, I shouldn't have called them out on it so publicly and humiliated them in front of so many people, because now the family doesn't want anything to do with them. Everybody thinks that what they did was not right, and they are blaming me for it for some reason. I don't think I'm the one at fault. But even then, AITA, for calling out my parents, for trying to trick me into agreeing to being their retirement plan by putting me on the spot in front of my entire family. Edit. My mom is a real estate agent and my dad owns a sports equipment business. And both of them have done reasonably well in their lives, financially speaking. I had a comfortable life, but I wouldn't say that we were very rich or anything. We were always in the middle, and I was fine with that. I'm assuming that they have some money saved up for themselves, even though I haven't spoken to them about it yet. And so far, they have only been accusing me, but I don't understand why they need me to be their retirement plan. Because it's very unrealistic to think that they don't have anything set aside for the future and are completely relying on me. So I don't know what that was all about. But I guess I'll find out soon enough. Update 1. Hi, it's been a week since the incident at the renewal ceremony, and parents have been consistently annoying for the past week. They have been trying to reach out to me through texts and emails since I'm not answering any of their phone calls and telling me that I need to apologize to them and tell the rest of the family that whatever I did was not meant to humiliate them or anything, but there was just some sort of misunderstanding and we are all clearing it up right now. And my parents are not at fault in any way. I really don't understand why they expect me to do any of this, especially when it's all a bunch of lies and nothing else. I'm not going to say that it was some sort of misunderstanding and pretend that my parents were not at fault at all, and it was actually me who was responsible for the whole thing, because that's not true. Why should I pretend to be a villain on purpose? Whatever they're asking of me right now, it just doesn't make any sense. And I hope they realize that. They are being totally ridiculous right now. So I've been ignoring them, but I haven't blocked them because I don't know. I feel like that would be going too far. Even when I was not speaking to them in the past 6 months, I hadn't blocked them. After all, I'm their only child, so I don't want to be in a position where I don't have any contact with them because, God forbid, if anything happens, I would like to know. But for now, it's pretty annoying, so I've muted their notifications. I don't want to be bothered by them right now. The rest of the family is on my side. I know that for a fact because my cousins and I have reached out to me and told me that whatever I did at the reception was totally justified and that I don't need to feel sorry about any of this. And then I don't need to feel responsible for the fact that the rest of the family is not exactly on speaking terms with my parents right now. Because I had been telling them that I was feeling kind of guilty about whatever was going on. But they reassured me that I had nothing to worry about. And that's what everybody in the comments said as well on my original post. So I'm feeling considerably better about my involvement in all of this. I still don't have all the answers. I'm holding out on that, but for now, I'm trying to keep my mind off everything to do with my parents because it won't do for me to keep thinking about it and keep feeling bad. Update 2. Hey, so it's been 5 days since my last update, and a couple of hours ago, my parents decided to pay me a visit. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I was not at home at the time. I was out with a couple of friends. They kept trying to call me and text me, but since I had muted all notifications from them, I didn't get to know until several hours had passed, and they had already left. I figured it out because they had left a note at my door telling me to call them, saying they were very disappointed I hadn't even bothered to pick up any of the many calls that they had made to me while waiting for me at my doorstep. But I mean, I don't know what they were expecting. It's the weekend, and just like everyone else, I get just one weekend too. So I'm obviously going to make the most of it and hang out with my friends. Anyway, when I saw that note, it was pretty late in the evening, and I had to freshen up and everything, so I took my own sweet time, and even after that, I was thinking about whether I should call them or not, but eventually I decided to give them a call and talk to them, because I felt kind of bad that they might have been waiting at my door, waiting for me to open it, but that never happened. Besides, I was a little tipsy as well, so I guess my emotions were kind of heightened, so I ended up calling them. They picked up immediately, and my mom started telling me that she was very disappointed in my behavior and said that I couldn't just ignore them all my life and I had certain duties and responsibilities towards them, being their only child. I told her that I knew that, which is why I was still reachable, and that was the only reason why I hadn't blocked them altogether. She was silent for a couple of seconds and then started to tell me that I was not doing them a favor by not blocking them, especially if this is the way I was behaving. She said that she was very upset at how I was treating them, as if they had never done anything for me and I had forgotten how hard they had worked to give me everything that I had today. It was a ridiculous thing to say because of course they had to work hard to give me everything. We are not a family that comes from generational wealth. And besides, it's not like they were doing me a favor. It's literally required by the law to take care of your children. I don't think I had to be extra thankful for everything they did. I think I've been grateful enough, but if they expect me to go out of my way to just show them that I'm extremely thankful for everything they have done and act as if I'm indebted to them forever or something, that's not happening. And I was very clear about it. I told her I don't know what her expectations were, but I was not going to be able to match them because I'm going to live my life on my terms. And I'm not going to constantly sit and worry about what my parents would have to say. I know for a fact that they didn't do it either, because I knew that even my grandparents did not approve of a lot of decisions my parents made for themselves. But at the end of the day, it was their life, and so they lived it. I think I should have that option as well. I shouldn't have to constantly sit and live my life according to my parents, especially when it comes to my finances. I'm sorry, but I've tried my best to be independent ever since I was 18, and nobody can take that away from me, not even them. Yes, they did cover my tuition for the first few semesters, but after that, it was my grandparents who took over because my parents were finding it difficult to continue paying the tuition. And I worked hard as well. They can't discount that. So they cannot really say that they've done everything for me, that they've handed me everything on a platter, because I've had to work for myself as well. I'm not going to be constantly subservient to them, if that's what they want. And I made that very clear to my mom. But of course, she couldn't stand that. She started playing the whole emotional manipulation game once again. She started crying and saying that she couldn't believe that her only child was saying these horrible things to her, and that she and my dad couldn't believe I would grow up to be so selfish one day. I really don't understand how any of this is selfishness. And I told her that if she thinks my choosing not to be their retirement plan is selfish, then so be it, because they have never spoken to me about it. And if they have not been able to save any kind of money in the past several years, even though I've never relied on them to that extent, then it's their own fault. Because let's be real, I have definitely not been such a huge drain on the expenses that I now have to pay them back by being their retirement plan for the rest of their life. Right now, I don't have any intentions of starting a family or getting married or anything of the sort. But eventually, in the long run, I'm definitely going to think about it. And I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to support myself in my dreams. And I won't be able to do that if I end up agreeing to finance them for the rest of their lives. I can help them out here and there for sure, but relying on me completely is just too much. And I even asked my mom why she was acting like this was such a big deal. I asked her about her savings, but she dodged the question, and she started saying that this is not what this was about. It was just about the thought of the thing, and that confused me even more, because if it was just about the thought, then why not just speak to me about it clearly instead of making the whole thing so confusing and weird? I don't know, she was just being really crazy, and after a while, I got tired of speaking to her because we were just talking in circles. She kept accusing me of being heartless and selfish and all that. And I was constantly trying to explain myself and trying to tell her that she was being unreasonable. But there was no point, so eventually I decided to hang up on her. I was very hurt. And I was honestly very frustrated as well, because I've never been one of those kids who hated their parents or anything like that. I always got along well with them, but in the recent past, I don't know what got into them. Feels like they're constantly trying to control my life or something. I just can't stand it anymore. Because even though I've never hated them, I've also never been one of those people who needed to be tamed or whatever. I'm not some animal, and they don't need to try and put me on a leash all the time. Throughout my childhood, I've always been a very obedient and disciplined kid, and it was not out of fear of anybody, but that was just how I was wired. My parents appreciated that. Even now, I lead a very disciplined life, but just because of my preferred choice of career, my parents couldn't see that. And obedience is not the same as being somebody's slave. I'm a full-grown adult person now. So I'm not obligated to do everything that they tell me to. If they find it upsetting that I'm not going to be their retirement plan, then tough. But they're going to have to deal with it because now I have decided that I refuse to feel bad for something that is really not my fault in any way whatsoever. They can continue trying to create drama out of nothing, but I am not going to entertain it anymore. And the next time they try to bother me, I'm just going to block them because I'm done with this. This has been mentally exhausting and quite tiring for me. I don't have to deal with it, and I won't deal with this nonsense. Update 3. Hey, so it's been a week since my last conversation with my mom, and for the past week they have been trying to explain, but I haven't been responding as usual. So once again they decided to show up at my place, and this time I was at home. When they started ringing the doorbell and I saw that it was them standing outside, I opened the door and told them that if they were here to demand an apology from me or tell me that I needed to fund their lifestyle after they retired, then I was going to help them save some time and tell them that my answer to both of those things would be the same. I would definitely still decline. So if that's what they were here for, they might as well save us both time and leave already. Instead, my dad told me that he was only here to tell me that they had been struggling with money for the past couple of months since his business had taken a dip. And so my mom had been contributing to the household more than usual, and both of them were nearing retirement age, so they were planning on selling his business. But just in case it didn't sell for much, they wanted me to help them out. But since I was so selfish, they were not sure if I was going to be willing to do that anymore. It took all the willpower I had not to roll my eyes because they were being so dramatic for no reason. I invited them in, and once we were seated, I told them that if it was about helping them here and there occasionally, I was willing to do that. But if they were going to rely on me for everything, then that would be a little difficult for me because even I had my own life and I could not afford to take care of all of them right now. And that's when my mom started talking about how it would have been easier for me to climb up the corporate ladder. And then I wouldn't have to worry about supporting all three of us. And maybe even supporting my future family on my own salary because I would have been making a lot more money. So once again, she had taken a dig at my career. And I can't even imagine the audacity of doing that while asking me to help them out in future. I got really annoyed. I told her that if she really looked down on my career so much, then she did not take any help from me because clearly she didn't approve of what I did. So she shouldn't be using that money for her own benefit. That's fair. She got a bit embarrassed at that, so she kept her mouth shut for the rest of the duration that she was here. And I was glad of it because she had really annoyed me the last time we spoke. Anyway, while we were talking, my dad was very transparent about everything, and finally I got to make sense of everything that had been going on. Apparently they had been struggling with finances, which they had been ashamed to tell me about because they did not want to beg me for help or anything like that. But then they eventually had to ask me because they did not want to be put in a position where I would be caught off guard or anything. Yet they couldn't do it directly because once again they were ashamed of whatever was going on. And I just thought that it was so ridiculous that they were so embarrassed of something that could happen to anybody. Why were they embarrassed to share this kind of thing with me? I'm literally their child. I was not going to judge them or anything. I was definitely not going to make them feel bad about it because I'm not like them. I don't judge people so easily like that. Just like they had judged me for my choice of career so harshly. Anyway, now that they were being honest about everything, I was finally more open to helping them out. And I told them that even though I wasn't going to promise to tell them that I was going to be there for them all the time, I'm going to go out of my way to help them out because that would be unrealistic and I did not want to give them false hope. I would still be willing to help them out as much as I could. Whatever was within my means, I was going to do it. But at the end of the day, they also had to make sure that they saved up more before they retired. And they still had a couple of years to set it all right. My mom was not happy about it, and I could see that she was itching to say something or the other. But my dad kept his cool. He told me that he was glad I had heard them out and I had chosen to be supportive. He also apologized for everything that had happened and said that the two of them should not have pulled off the stunt they did at the reception, and it was silly of them. I was glad that he had apologized. Just sick and tired of all this tension and animosity. I'm a really laid-back person. I don't do well with crap like this, so I was actually pretty happy that I could finally put an end to all this drama now. Anyway, we had the chat. And after that, they left and that was it. So now I'm hoping that things can go back to normal, and I'm relieved that I'm back on okay-ish terms with them now. Update 4. Hey everyone, so it feels good to be back after almost 3 years. I got very busy and my life is completely different now. So reading my old updates was pretty nostalgic. I'm on good terms with my parents now. We put it all in the past and I do send them money occasionally. And thankfully, they don't rely on me too much because in the end, my dad's business was able to sell for a decent amount, and now he's about to retire in a couple of months. My mom already retired last year, and they're doing all right. As for me, I've gone solo and I have my own tattoo studio. It's been a year and the business is doing well. And on top of that, I'm also married now. We actually own the business together and we're both tattoo artists, but he looks after the business aspect of things more. We actually met at my previous job, fell in love, and that was that. We got married 3 months ago and life's been going great for both of us. We had a pretty small wedding. It was just our families and a couple of friends and of course our co-workers from the tattoo studio that we used to work in. We are still in touch with them, even though we are technically competitors in the business. But we do get drinks with them every other weekend, and all that business stuff doesn't really matter. What matters is that we are all having fun with our lives. We are living great. And I'm even planning on expanding the business as soon as possible. Things with my parents have been going smoothly as well, like I said, even though it was a bit awkward in the beginning. But I guess they realized their mistake and they genuinely made it up to me, and that's all that matters now. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.